Richard Schaefer was at the London 2012 Olympic Games, and Schaefer was there, front row, and he watched all the fights. He came to me after a couple of the fights. He was like, "Mate, listen, we'll be in touch." After the games, I got a phone call from Oscar De La Hoya. Imagine being 23 years old, just got a medal at the Olympic Games. My mum's kind of like in and out of hospital, in a coma, in and out of consciousness from a coma. Oscar De La Hoya is ringing me, sending me emails, and I'm so with my mum and my family now. I'm kind of half ghosting Oscar De La Hoya. Long story short, Richard came over to meet us. We had a meeting. Richard Schaefer basically wanted to do what Eddie Hearn did with Matchroom USA. He wanted to make Golden Boy UK 10 years before Matchroom did the USA thing. So even before BT Sport was a thing, Richard Schaefer showed me the emails, him liaising with the people that became BT Sport. He was going to basically create Golden Boy UK. I was going to be the face of it after the Olympic Games. He wanted one or two other Olympians, and obviously the roster to grow. But it was going to be my brand, and I was going to join Golden Boy. I signed with Golden Boy. Schaefer, really. Oscar was obviously the Stardust. Richard was the businessman. Within the first 6 months, I guess Richard and Oscar had a really big argument, and Oscar fired him. Oscar sacked him. So now I'm that footballer. And Oscar was good, and he was good as gold with me. He was great, a real lovely bloke, great to work with. But I'm that footballer, signed by the manager. The manager was desperate to sign me. Manager's been sacked. New gaffer's in. Doesn't really fancy me. Or he didn't not fancy me. Oscar didn't want to do the UK thing. He wanted to stay in. He wasn't that business savvy. He wanted to focus on the US. And he said, if you come to the US, then we'll promote you. My whole fan base was in the UK. I didn't want to go to the US. So I was in this weird thing where I was boxing on Matchroom shows, I'd box on a few Sauerland shows, I'd get an injury, and all this time things were happening. And I was thinking, eventually, like, when I get back from the shoulder injury, like, things are going to be sorted. They weren't. Then I'd done my Achilles, or the other way around, sorry. And it was just really shit, mate. It was just really shit, weird, murky world where, and again, like with injuries on the GB squad, you go to Dr. Loosemore, my knuckle sore. Scan, bosh, treatment, you're back boxing in Poland 3 weeks later. As a pro, you do it all yourself. It's this. I remember I had a double Achilles surgery. At the time I was living in East Anglia. I had to go out to London to get my stitches changed, and I couldn't walk. But everyone was at work, and I wasn't earning enough money to pay people to come and take me to London for the day. I took the train from Lowestoft to London. Both my Achilles operated on. I couldn't bend my legs. I was walking like I don't know what I was. I don't know how I did it. I wasn't earning that good money because I was so early in my career. It was just shit. It was just a really shit career when it could have been really good. It was just really. Have you
said publicly how much you've been paid for your boxing?
I don't know if I have actually. Oh, what I would say is I've said.
You sign on fee.
So sign on fee was alright. It wasn't great, but it was okay. It was okay.
I got 40 grand. Did you get more than me?
A bit more.
And then for my fights, I got £12,000 when I fought in anywhere in the UK. I got £20,000 if I fought in Sunderland, which was supposed to be 3 times a year. So I sold a ticket.
I got 10 grand for a 6-rounder, 15 grand for an 8-rounder, and 20 grand for a 10-rounder. And my 12-round competition fights were my 12-round championship fights would have been negotiated. However, the fight I did my eye, and I had 12 fights in I was a pro for 6 years and active pro for 2.5 years. The fight I did my eye, I took a pay cut to get the fight. £17,000. I left the ring with a shattered eye socket. I'm now 78% blind in my left eye, visually impaired. I've got no proprioception. I knock things over all the time. I walk into things.
Shit.
I can drive. When I sit still and I don't move, my eyes aren't too bad. When I'm moving, that's when things struggle. So I can read a book, okay. I can drive, okay. Becoming a wrestler was really difficult for me to learn a whole new different move set, body movement. Wow. It was just a nightmare. 17 grand. I've had 10 operations on my eyes now after the injury. I spent 100, and my last surgery was 2 months ago here out in Atlanta. That was 3.5 grand, and I got it really cheap because the guy heard my story and was like, "Mate, I ain't gonna charge you 30 grand. I'm gonna charge you my surgical fee." And he waived his fee, and he needs to see if he waives his fee. I spent £103,000, just 103 grand, just on surgeries alone on my eye that never worked.
Wow.
Because somebody misdiagnosed me, had the wrong surgery performed on me. My whole thing. So with me, the reason why it hasn't been so easy, I wish my last sounds really really bad, you know, and I'm really torn by saying this. Do I say it or not? But I wish, but my life would have been much easier had I got punched in the eye on that fight and my eyeball fell out, and now I'm 100% blind in my left eye. But the difficult thing for me was there was hope there, but the wrong thing was done. Then I got damaged more. Then I had the injection in my eye, which damaged the nerve, which now leads to the visual impairment, and my eye doesn't move properly. But there's glimmers, little chinks of light that I was going after. And over 3 years, I had 9 surgeries in 3 years, 10 in 7 years. And if my eye just fell out of my eyeball, of my head, then now I've got no choice but to move on. And I can look back on it, it is what it is. But I've got all this bitterness wrapped up inside me about how things went down. And that's why I've struggled to let go, because it could have been so great, but it wasn't. With yourself, your hands just crumbled when you hit, because you punched so hard, so you had no choice but to leave it alone. And almost like the decision was taken out of your hands, and it was what it was. With me, it could have been so great, but it wasn't. But anyway, honestly, mate, as I've said in this conversation alone already, I've learned that yes, my eye isn't great, but I'm so lucky that I still can drive. I'm lucky that I still can read a book. I still can wrestle. Wrestling is very hard for me with my visual impairment, but I can still do it. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't really know I had a problem, because I'm very good at what I do, and I've been able to work and adapt it. Mate, I want to last 10, 15 minutes. I want to talk about you and your massive successes. You had the hands. You were told you couldn't fight anymore. What did that do to you?
Yeah, so with me, my hand, I still thought I was going to be able to box and continue boxing. But by this time, I'd moved to America when I was waiting for my hands to recover. And I started teaching some boxing to people. And when my hand didn't get better, I kind of went straight into that. But when it first happened, I always think about that as the darkest time in my life, when I had surgery on my hand, on both hands, actually, and I couldn't do a thing. I had these big bandages on, and you know what it's like. Everybody asks you, "When's your next fight? When's your next fight? When's your next fight? When you fighting again?" That's all you bloody hear. How's your hands? How's your hands? So what I did, mate, and I guess this might be something as well. Yeah, I think you've done it as well, though. But like, I took myself out of that environment when I went to Los Angeles, and then no one knew about my boxing career. No one knew about my hands, and it was great. And no one was recognised in the street like they did in Sunderland, and like pulling us up and asking us about what's happening. Because when people just start talking to you about this, it's just never out of your head. But now I'm out the way of that in Los Angeles, and I'm just got a new goal, which is teaching people boxing for fitness and starting a boot camp and all of that. That's kind of how I dealt with it.